Life can change in an instant, leaving us with questions we may never fully understand. For John, a devoted husband and soon-to-be father, his world was shattered when his wife, Emily, passed away unexpectedly at 8 months pregnant. The loss was unbearable, and the dreams they shared for their growing family seemed to fade away in a moment. Heartbroken and grieving, John found himself visiting her grave almost daily, seeking solace in the quiet stillness of the cemetery. But one day, as he stood by her resting place, something caught his eye. Something so unexpected, it made his heart race and left him questioning everything he thought he knew. Was it a sign, a message, or something far beyond explanation? What John discovered at Emily's grave would change his life forever in ways he never imagined. Stay tuned to uncover this incredible story. John had always believed in the unbreakable bond he shared with Emily. They were high school sweethearts who grew up dreaming of a future filled with love, laughter, and family. Her sudden passing had left him shattered, with only memories and an unfinished nursery to remind him of the life they had planned together. Visiting her grave had become his way of staying connected, of feeling close to her, and the baby they never got to meet. That day, however, something was different. As he approached the gravesite, he noticed something unusual lying near the headstone. His breath caught in his throat as he stepped closer. At first, he thought it was just his grief playing tricks on him. But the more he stared, the more he realized this wasn't his imagination. The object seemed too intentional, too perfectly placed to be random. His heart raced as he bent down to take a closer look. As John knelt by Emily's grave, his hands trembled as he picked up the mysterious object. It was a delicate, handcrafted bracelet made of tiny beads, each etched with symbols he didn't recognize. The bracelet seemed new, too new to have been left by accident in a place like this. He turned it over in his hands, wondering who could have left it and why. Was it someone who knew Emily? Or was it meant for him? The questions swirled in his mind, but no answers came. He couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just coincidence. The cemetery was quiet, almost eerily so, as if holding its breath. His thoughts raced back to the conversations he'd had with Emily about their baby. She used to talk about believing in signs and how love could transcend even the boundaries of life and death. Could this be one of those moments she had always believed in? Or was there something he was missing? John's curiosity grew stronger with each passing moment. Determined to uncover the truth, he decided to return the next day to look for clues. Little did he know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about loss, love, and the unseen connections that bind us together. The next day, John returned to the cemetery, his mind buzzing with unanswered questions. This time, he brought a notebook, determined to document anything unusual he might find. The air was cold, and the sky was overcast, matching the heaviness he felt in his chest. As he approached Emily's grave, he noticed something else, a small folded piece of paper tucked under a corner of her headstone. His pulse quickened as he picked it up and carefully unfolded it. The note was brief, written in neat handwriting. Asterisk love never dies. Look closer. Asterisk, the word sent a shiver down his spine. They felt so personal, as if whoever left it knew exactly what he was going through. But who could it be? And what did they mean by look closer? He scanned the area, searching for anyone who might be watching, but the cemetery was as still and silent as ever. John's thoughts spiraled. Was someone trying to communicate with him? Was this a cruel prank or something far more profound? He felt torn between fear and hope, unsure whether to be guarded or open to the possibility that Emily's belief in signs might be true. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, John realized he was no closer to answers, but felt himself drawn deeper into the mystery. Something was waiting to be discovered. He could feel it, and it was only a matter of time before the truth revealed itself. As the days passed, John couldn't shake the feeling that the note was just the beginning. He revisited Emily's grave several times, each visit more unsettling than the last. On his third visit, he noticed something else, a tiny bouquet of flowers, tied with a ribbon that matched the bracelet he had found earlier. It wasn't the type of flowers Emily had loved, but they were fresh, arranged with care, and placed as though left intentionally for him to find. Determined to uncover who was behind this, John started asking around. The cemetery groundskeeper, an older man with a kind face, swore he hadn't seen anyone unusual. Still, there was something in his expression, a hesitation, that made John wonder if he was holding back. Late that night, restless and desperate for answers, John combed through Emily's belongings, hoping to find a clue. That's when he stumbled upon something he hadn't seen before, a journal tucked deep inside her nightstand drawer. As he flipped through its pages, his heart sank. Emily had written about dreams she'd been having in the weeks leading up to her death. Dreams of a child's laughter, of being watched over, and of leaving behind messages for John to find. The words felt hauntingly prophetic, almost as if she had known this moment would come. John stared at the journal, realizing this mystery was far deeper than he had imagined, and he was now caught in something he could no longer ignore. John couldn't sleep that night. Emily's journal stayed open on the table as he pieced together the cryptic dreams she had described. The way she wrote about leaving messages for him felt deliberate, as if she had known her time was limited. The next morning, he returned to the cemetery one last time, the journal tucked under his arm. When he arrived, his breath caught. A small envelope was now propped against the headstone, his name written neatly on the front. Hands shaking, John opened it. Inside was a single ultrasound photo, a perfect image of their baby. Tears blurred his vision as he stared at it, overwhelmed by emotions he couldn't contain. But what left him stunned was the date printed on the image. It was from the day after Emily had passed. It was impossible, yet there it was, as real as the ground beneath his feet. In disbelief, he turned to see the groundskeeper standing a short distance away, watching him. This time, the man approached. "I thought you might find that," he said quietly, his voice heavy with meaning. He explained that Emily, knowing her pregnancy had complications, had arranged to leave these items for John in the event of her death. She had planned every detail, right down to the timing of the photo, as a way to give him hope and remind him that their love and their child would always be a part of his life. But just as John started to process it all, the man added something that sent chills down his spine. "The bracelet, that wasn't from us," he said. "I seen it before, though. It was something Emily used to wear years ago." John's mind reeled. How could it have appeared now, after all this time? As he looked back at the grave, the wind seemed to carry her voice, a quiet reassurance that even in loss, love finds a way to endure. John stood by Emily's grave, clutching the ultrasound photo and the journal, feeling a mix of heartbreak and peace. The mystery of the bracelet lingered, but instead of fear, he felt gratitude. Emily's love had reached him in ways he couldn't explain, bridging the gap between life and death. The items she left behind weren't just reminders of her. They were proof that her love and their child's presence were still a part of his life. As he left the cemetery, the weight in his chest began to lift. He made a promise to honor her memory by living the life they had dreamed of, a life filled with love, resilience, and hope. Weeks later, as he worked on the nursery, the bracelet rested on the windowsill, catching the sunlight. It was a quiet, constant reminder that even in the face of loss, love leaves a mark that never fades.